This is it. This is the episode. We're going to have it all painted and put back together. This is your first time seeing this Jeep. This is my 2002 Jeep Wrangler that I only paid $1,800 for. And the reason I only paid $1,800 for it is because when I bought it, it did not run, it did not start, and it has a lot of rust. It's in very rough shape, or at least it was. Now we got it looking pretty good. All the rust is repaired and it starts and runs. I replaced the fuel pump and the alternator. That got it running, and I drove this thing for around 6 months until I decided to start digging into the rust. The first bit of rust was on the frame itself. These Jeep TJs have a rusting problem, especially on the frame, on these certain sections. We replaced those with Rust Busters frame solutions, got all that fixed up. Then we moved on to the body of the Jeep. The body of the Jeep was also in bad shape. The floor pans needed fixed, and also the torque boxes on each side both needed replaced and fixed. Replaced those with thicker metal and got it all cleaned up. The inside all fixed, welded, and painted with some bed liner. It all looks very good now. Can you really notice that I did a lot of welding in there? Then moving on to this section right here, pretty much this whole back section had to be cut out and replaced because it was very rusty. This whole section right here was pretty much non-existent, especially on these corners also. Got all that cut out and fixed with OEM panels, and it looks really good. After we got all that rust fixed, I turned my attention on the suspension. The old suspension was in really rough shape, so Rough Country sent me out a new 4-inch long arm lift kit that I replaced the whole thing with. And I also upgraded to their new M1 shocks all around the whole thing. I was only able to drive it around my yard a little bit, but ride's pretty good. Once this thing is all painted and put back together, we'll be able to give it a true test on how well it handles. And then last episode, we installed a new slip yoke eliminator kit from Rough Country, along with their new drive shaft. We needed that because we lifted this Jeep up a little bit higher. And then we also started digging into the paint and got everything pretty much rhino-lined, cleaned up, all the rust taken care of on the fenders. There's a little bit more we have to do, but that's what we're gonna do right now. I've gotten most of the bodywork already done. All this side right here was pretty dented, got all that fixed. Same thing back here. Once we replaced all that rust, we got all that fixed and bodywork taken care of. The next step for that is to prime it in with some 2K primer, and then we can start sanding it all down and getting it ready for paint. But there is a few little things I want to check and fix first. A little bit of rust right here on this hinge. I'm going to end up fixing that. I don't think I need to replace that whole hinge. And then another common problem I'm learning about, I haven't checked on this yet, but underneath this windshield, it likes to rust out. I haven't noticed any kind of signs of it rusting out, so I'm hoping mine is safe. But we do need to check that because we're going to end up painting the inside right here. Since we are color changing this Jeep, I want all the white to be gone and change with a new color. These Jeep windshields actually fold down. All you have to do is unbolt it from the roll cage and then unbolt this bolt right here, and then it will actually flip down. We're going to do that here in a second, make sure there's no rust that we need to fix or worry about. Worst case, we need to replace this whole thing. Not sure yet. We're going to find out pretty soon. Last episode, we got all these painted. These are the fenders and the hood. Got the hood cut out for the new vents, all that taken care of. The one thing I forgot to take care of was this cowl. You can see there's a little bit of rust on it, and there's a rust hole right here we need to fix. And then a little one right here. And I believe that's the last bit of rust we need to fix before we start painting this thing. So that's what's up next. We need to check, make sure there's no rust on this windshield, get all the little bit of rust and dents fixed, and then we can start priming and getting it ready for paint. Hopefully it won't take very long. Let's do it. That is my least favorite thing to do, sanding. It is long, boring, tedious. It's not very fun to watch either. But we got everything all sanded down, the whole body, all the parts, the fenders, the hood, the doors, got it all taken apart. It is ready to go. The windshield is in great shape. There's no rust on it at all. I was kind of surprised by that, just by how much rust is actually on this thing, or was on this thing. For that part to be okay was pretty surprising, but good news, because I did not want to fix it. Everything all sanded down, taken care of out here. There was some rust spots on this cowl. There was one right here and one right here. Got it all replaced with new metal, welded on. Very little body filler, so we're good to go there. Everything else all sanded down, primed, prepped, ready to go. Moving on to the doors right here. These doors are kind of tricky. Whoever designed them honestly should be fired. These door handles are really hard to take apart, and I know it's going to be even harder to put back together. It's not bolted on or anything. It's like attached by wedges. These little wedge tooth things are what hold the whole door handle on, and it's very tricky to get out. Just be warned, if you're taking your door handles apart, it's a pain. Another thing I had to do to the doors, I had to replace the hinges. This right here are the old hinges that were on here. Now these are not original. I don't know who put these on there. Maybe the previous owner, maybe a long time ago. They put them on there, but ugly. I don't like them. I wanted to go back to OEM style because I wanted to be able to paint them. And these just do not match with the design idea I'm going for. So I thought it was gonna be easy to swap these things out. Should be pretty simple, but the bolts were all rusted on, so I had to cut them all off and replace a lot of the hardware behind the doors. Put new bolts on and everything. It was, it honestly was like 3 hours worth of work. It was a big pain to do. So if your hinges are okay, I would keep them because it was a lot of work. I ended up switching out all of them, so we're good to go. They're really easy to open and close and to take the door off too. So I got it all swapped out on the driver's side, and moving on to the passenger side. Got this side all swapped out too. Most of the body work I already got done in the previous episode. I just had to prime it all in. This is a 2K primer or high build primer. It's basically just a thick primer that covers any sand scratches or any tiny little chips in the paint. Back here, a little bit of body work too, not too much. Got it all taken care of. Out here, not very much body work at all. The fenders are in really good shape. The hood was in good shape, just a little bit of body work on this cowl. And the grill is also in good shape. A lot of this car is in good shape, besides the rust. There's no like major dents on it. The doors don't have any dings on them. The rear gate doesn't have any dents or anything. Just looking at the little bit of positive on this Jeep, not that much body work or dents or dings I had to fix, so saves a little bit of time. But now we're to the fun part, which is painting. My plan is to paint most of this stuff in one go, so paint all the fenders, the body, and everything all together, and try to fit it into this garage. It's gonna be a tight fit, but I think we can do it. I'm gonna move a lot of these boxes out and clean up the garage, make a clean environment for it. And to do that, I need to take out this Jeep and clean it all up. But before I do that, I wanna go ahead and paint the inside of this windshield. This is the only thing I'm gonna be painting separately from everything else. Just the inside of the windshield. You can see it a little bit from the inside. You don't see a lot of it, but I do want it to color match because I'm pretty picky about things not matching. So we're gonna paint the inside of this first. And then while that's drying, we're gonna move the Jeep out, let it air dry, and then we can focus on cleaning up the garage, getting it all prepped and ready, taped up, and ready to go. I would show you the color, but you're gonna see it pretty soon painted on here. So let's go ahead and get to work. A lot to do. My garage is actually pretty big whenever I move out all the junk and don't have a bunch of stuff in here. But it's ready to go. Everything is all prepped and ready to paint. I'm gonna clean it off beforehand with some wax and grease remover. Prep it before actually painting it. Make sure there's no debris or dirt or anything on it before we start actually spraying. So you were able to see a little sneak peek of the color I went for. The color is surf green. I believe it was used on the old like Bel Airs, old vehicles, very old vehicles, like 1957. It's very stressful picking out a color. One, because I have a huge audience and not everyone has the same taste as me. And two, I'm putting a lot of work into this. Ton of hours getting it ready for paint and painting it. So if you don't pick a good color, you could ruin all the work. But there's one actual thing I'm hiding from you, is that this isn't the complete color. If you've been following my channel for a while, about 3 years ago or so, I built my Volkswagen Beetle and I painted it with a patina rust look, and that is the exact same thing I'm doing for this. It is a very unique look. It stands out a lot, and that's what I like about it. People see it on the road and they have nothing but compliments. I can't go to a gas station without people coming up and asking if it's a wrap, asking what happened, did I live by the beach or something. It gets a lot of looks and a lot of compliments, never anything negative. I personally love the look of it. I know not everyone's a fan of it, but me personally, and this is my vehicle, it's gonna be my new daily driver, I want it. So I'm gonna do it again. This time in a different color. I'll end up talking more after it's all done and painted about the benefits of doing it, why I did it and why I like it. I feel like I'm committing a crime right now trying to explain myself. It's hard to put yourself out there on the internet and especially do something very different and unique. Some people might hate it. I personally love it. And at the end of the day, I think it's gonna be very unique and very eye-catching. This color by itself gives off like Easter vibes. If I were to paint this color just by itself, I would need to add a lot of black accents to kind of break it up, because this color is very bright and stands out a lot. So with this patina look, it actually calms it down, and I think it looks really cool, and I think it's gonna look really old. I already painted it in the inside right here. I didn't show you guys that because I was still going back and forth on if I was gonna do it or not. But at the end of the day, I wanna do it. So we're gonna send it. All right, first thing we need to do is we need to lay a base coat. We're gonna paint it all with the actual color. After that, I'm gonna go over it with a lighter tone. I'm gonna try to mimic the look of it like being out in the sun for a long time. So I'm gonna go over it with a lighter tone color on like all the top areas, maybe put some streaks in it to simulate it being in the sun for many years, because colors like to fade after a long time. After all that's done and dry, then I'm gonna add the rust. Now the rust is real, but more simulated real. The rust is gonna be just suspended in the paint, so it's not actually gonna make contact with bare metal. So that means it won't spread to the actual metal underneath. It's all just for looks. That also means that if someone wanted to repaint this, it could be not easily repainted, but it is possible to repaint it without doing a bunch of extra work. That means this thing can hold up for a long time. It won't be rusted out in a few years. It's gonna hold up just as long as a normal paint job. Same thing with the lighter coat of paint. I'm gonna mimic areas that I think would rust. To do this, I look at older Jeeps and see where they're rusting out. A lot of times it's rusted out on top areas or like underneath things you use a lot. So door handles, the gas tank, all that's gonna be rusted underneath. This is all just for the aesthetic appearance of a patina car. It's not actually patina, so we're kind of cheating time. This is hard to talk about and hard to explain because I know it's gonna get a lot of mixed reviews. I already see the comments coming in that I'm ruining this after doing all the work to it. It's what I wanna do, and it's kind of my staple. I'm turning it into my thing about just making cars look different and stand out. So hopefully by the end of this, it looks cool and stands out. People can appreciate it for what it is. With that being said, let's get to it. A lot of work ahead of us, and once this is all painted, I'm gonna let it dry for a little bit, and then we can start putting it all back together. Fingers crossed. Please look good. I did all that work just to make it rusty again. It looks terrible, awful decision, just really bad all around. I'm just predicting the comments I'm gonna be reading here in a little bit. But in my personal opinion, I love how it turned out. And after I finish putting it back together, I think it's gonna look really good. Most of the outside is pretty much put back together. I am waiting for a few more things to finish up the outside. I want some new headlights. I think I'm gonna go with some darker ones to kind of match the rest of the tone. Also some LED turn signals to match the rest of it. New bumpers front and back. I'm considering replacing these plastic fenders with some metal ones. I've seen a couple different options out there. I think some metal fender flares would really look a lot better on this. Same thing with the side skirts. It looks like it's missing something, so maybe I'll put another one back on. I'm not really too sure yet. I am on the shorter side, so I might need a little step up to get into the Jeep. But one major thing it needs is it definitely needs some new wheels, new bigger wheels. If you guys have any suggestions on what color, what style, anything like that, any ideas you might have for new rims, I'm thinking going with some 35s, maybe some 33s. If I go that size or any bigger, I'm gonna have to do some re-gearing here in the future. But I think I can run those for the time being. Just won't really have too much power on the highway. But it really needs some new wheels. I just don't know what yet. What's gonna look good. Maybe some black rims. I think that would match really well with the rest of it. Or maybe even bronze. Bronze might look kind of cool. Not really sure yet. So if you guys have any ideas, please let me know. As you can see, the interior is not completely back together yet. I do have the doors all back together, along with the windshield stuff. All that's back together. Reason I haven't tackled any of that yet is because I have this roll cage still. As you can see, it's still white. Thinking about pulling it out and either color matching it or painting it black. You don't really see a whole lot of it, so it's not that big of a deal, but I would rather do it now while everything is pretty much taken apart. Moving to the back, I have a new bumper coming in. I got a little bit of wiring I need to fix up. And also I have new tail lights coming in, new LED tail lights. Also missing a couple random things like this lockdown for the hood. I don't know where it went. I think one of my dogs got a hold of it. Also, I need to fix some of these bolts that broke off up here. Gotta get all that fixed, but I'll fix that once I put the new bumper on. Just a couple little things we need to clean up, but we can get all that taken care of in the next episode. As for the paint job, I'm sure I'm gonna be reading a lot of comments about it. Maybe some positive, maybe a lot of negative. I'm not really too sure yet. But you can't say it's not different and it's not unique because it does stand out quite a bit. And I think once we get some new wheels and the new bumpers and everything on here, it's really gonna tie it all together. If you're curious about the rust and how I made it rust so fast, I sprayed some clear coat and then blew on the iron filings. That way it gets suspended in between the paint. And then I mixed together some hydrogen peroxide, some salt, and some white vinegar. Put it in a spray bottle and spray it down, and that immediately rusts it. Then I went over some areas like around the corners with some black spray paint to kind of give it a little bit more definition. Almost dirty it up a little bit because I wanted to tie it all together. If you're looking for a lot more detail into how to do a patina paint job, back when I painted my Bug, I did a full breakdown video on how to do it. If you want to go back and watch that to get more detail or insight on how to paint it like this, I'd recommend doing that. It's not too hard. The hardest part about it is just kind of imagining where the rust would go. It's really hard to mess it up because there's no right or wrong way to do it. Also, the clear coat I put on this was a matte clear coat. I think that's the best option for this. I don't want anything super glossy. The clear coat I use lays very well. It's super smooth and it dries really hard. So that makes it good for off-roading, so no scratches or anything. Off-roading, going through trees and bushes and twigs and all that kind of stuff, it scratches up your paint really easy. And with a paint job like this, you're not really ever gonna notice it. Also, washing your car. Don't have to do it very often. I wash my Bug maybe 3 times a year because it just covers so well and no one ever really notices that it's dirty. The main parts that you have to wash are the black panels or the windshield, and that's pretty much it. It's really nice having this kind of paint job because it's stress-free. You don't have to worry about scratches or dents or anything because it just adds to the character of it. And that was a big thing when I repainted my parents' Jeep. They are stressed about taking it out now because I did all that work to it, put a nice paint job on it, and they don't really want to go off-roading because they're scared to scratch it up. But with this, nothing to worry about because you're not going to mess it up. This style is not for everyone. I understand that, and I know I'm going to disappoint people. It's just something you have to deal with, especially with a huge audience following you every step of the way. You can't make everyone happy, so you might as well make yourself happy because this is what I want to do, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. All right, we're so close to having this thing mostly finished. Next episode, we're gonna be finishing up, putting it back together, new bumpers, putting the interior back together, get it all cleaned up, maybe take it for a test drive. I did drive it down the road a little bit and it drove really great. I was kind of expecting it to wiggle down the road or my steering wheel to be misaligned, but it was driving perfect. So I think I did a pretty good job on the lift kit. If you guys have an Instagram, you guys can follow me there. I post behind the scenes on my story about what I'm doing in the next episode. I posted little sneak peeks of the paint job and what I was doing that week, so you guys can check that out if you want to. Also, I have an email if you guys need to get a hold of me for anything. You can email me here. All right, that is it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for all the nice comments I'm about to read. And I will catch you guys in the next episode. Bye.